Angelina, how much over the speed limit do cops pull people over? Sometimes on the highway at night, it's easy to end up over because there's no other cars. Yes, and again, Angelina, this is another reason that I encourage you to use cruise control when you're driving out on the highways, because it's going to avoid you going up and down over the speed limit, and you're going to be able to set your cruise control with the traffic flow, and that way you're going to avoid getting speeding tickets. And as I said, it's one less thing that you have, that you're going to be distracted by when you're driving, because you already know that your speed is set and you know what it's at, so that you can focus on what's going on the roadway and maintaining your space and those types of things. So consider, learning how to use cruise control. Angel Blue, 10 miles over in Missouri, you have that 5 mile an hour grace period because the speedometer has a 5 mile an hour error. Yes, most places there's going to be traffic flow. The traffic is going to be going faster than the posted speed limit. Usually if you're within 5 miles an hour, within 10 kilometers an hour of the posted speed limit, it's unlikely that you're going to get a speeding ticket. So know that. And even the handbooks say that. If you read them carefully, they talk about traffic flow and they talk about posted speed limit, and also, the sign that says slower traffic, keep right. And usually the traffic traveling at the posted speed limit is the slower traffic. And driving smarter on the highways, as I already said, two things, two skills to employ when you're on the highways, when you're on the freeways: stay out of the clusters and maintain that 4 to 6 second following distance. Now, I know that nobody measures distance when they're following other cars. The car in front passes a fixed object, you start counting, 1 rhinoceros, 2 rhinoceros, 3 rhinoceros, 4 rhinoceros. Nobody does that. And the reason I said rhinoceros is because if you watch the driving 5 tips on driving on a highway, Corey will put that video up for you. I was trying to say rhinoceros and dinosaur, and I ended up putting the two words together and I ended up coming with rhinosaur. And then at the end of the video, I ended up laughing for a good minute at myself in the car while I was driving down the road. So that's where the word rhinosaur came from. For those of you new to Smart Drive Test, my name is Rick August. I was a long-haul truck driver during the 1990s, driving and hauling freight between Canada, Ontario, Canada, and the United States. Became a licensed commercial driving instructor in 1997. In the province of Ontario, I moved to Australia, became a licensed commercial driving instructor there, and then I moved to British Columbia, Canada, and in Western Canada, I'm also a licensed driving instructor. Got my doctorate in legal history in 2006 with a specialty in policing. My expertise is in policing as it relates to traffic. While I was going to university, I drove buses for Greyhound and one of the regional bus lines, so I have experience in busing as well. And if you want to know more about that and the Smart Drive Test business, YouTube channel and online website, which has been wildly more successful than I could have imagined, have a look over at the autobiography at the website. Corey will put that link up for you. New video this week, driving test secrets. Have a look at that if you're preparing for your driver's test. Everything you need to know about passing your driver's test, regardless of what state you're in, regardless of where you are, you will be successful in passing your driver's test. As well, look at the podcast on car care and maintenance, and that will help you to keep your car running in tip-top shape. And actually, I was talking to Chris, another automotive technician that I know, and he was pointing out 2 cars, and one was the owner was meticulous in changing the oil and those types of things, and another one, they let the oil run out to kind of like 15,000 kilometers, maybe 16,000 here and there. And at 150,000 kilometers, they were putting a new engine in the vehicle, which is about 120, 130,000 miles. And so look after your vehicle and it will look after you. Faster speeds on highways. Most highways you're doing 60 miles an hour, 100 kilometers an hour. More than that on some, 120 here in the Trans-Canada and British Columbia. And in some of the states, it's 70, 75 miles an hour. So your following distance is going to be your first line of defense. If you're on the brake at all to control space in front of your vehicle, it's most likely that you are too close to the vehicles in front of you. Look farther down the road. Now, a lot of the driving handbooks and manuals say 15 to 20 seconds, 10 to 12 seconds, whatever 10 to 12 second is it's too complicated. Just look down the road as far as you can see. Take note of road signs. Road signs will tell you when there are merging lanes of traffic, lanes that are going to end and those types of things, and when you have to move over. Know that also on highways in most places in North America, if big trucks are traveling less than 40 miles an hour, 70 kilometers an hour, they're going to activate their four-way flashers to indicate that they are traveling slow. So if you're coming up on those vehicles, know that and make lane changes appropriately so that you're not getting in behind these vehicles and getting stuck and making lane changes when you're on highways at intervals when you're traveling at higher speeds and those types of things. So space management is your number one line of defense. You want to maintain that minimum safe distance between you and other road users on the freeway. Stay out of the clusters. I repeat this ad nauseum. For those of you who don't know what ad nauseum means, it just means over and over and over. I cannot say this enough. I almost need to put it on a recording. 3 or 4 cars, 5 or 6 cars, and they just want to drive down the highway all together. And it's a domino effect. One hits the brakes, the next one hits the brakes a little bit more. And if you start driving on the 401 freeway and congested freeways, as in Los Angeles, you start driving on I-5 and other interstates that are congested around large metropolitan areas, you're going to start getting these phantom traffic jams because people are too close and one person hits the brakes, the person behind them hits the brakes a little bit harder, and the person hits the brakes behind them, and you get 20 cars back, and the next thing you know, all of the traffic is coming to a stop. So your ideal following distance is 3 to 5 seconds, which is about 10-20 car lengths, and you're using the throttle to manage space, and you're taking note, mapping and tracking other vehicles on the roadway in relative speed to your vehicle. That's what you want to pay attention to. Predicting road user behavior when you're driving down highways. Where are the intersections? Where are the on-ramps? Where are the off-ramps? On freeways and interstates, it's pretty easy to find the on-ramps and off-ramps because oftentimes there is a overpass at the junction where the off-ramp and on-ramps are going to be. Not always, but most of the time on interstates and freeways, and that's going to give you an indication that there may be cars coming on, there may be cars getting off the freeway or off the highway, cars turning at intersections and whatnot. These are the intersections. This is where you're going to have to change lanes to avoid conflict with these other vehicles on the roadway, so look for that. Speeders, if you're in the left lane, keep a close eye on your rearview mirror, watching other vehicles come up behind you because you may have to change lanes to get out of the way and those types of things. And don't drive too slow. If you want to drive the posted speed limit and you feel more comfortable driving the speed limit, then stay in the right-hand lane for the most part, okay? If you're on a 3-lane and you're keeping up with traffic flow, the middle lane is going to be your best defensive posturing lane because you're not in the lane where cars are getting off and cars are getting on and those types of things. So more than 3 lanes of traffic, stay in that kind of middle lane, or if it's 4 lanes or 5 lanes, and stay in the second from the right. That's going to be, again, your best defensive posturing. Shoulder checking. You have to shoulder check on highways and freeways at these higher speeds. Now, you have to shoulder check quickly. You have to move your head quickly because remember, the vehicle is going to go where you're looking, and if you're too slow on your shoulder check, you're going to be deviating out of your lane. So shoulder check, sharp 90-degree turn of the head, mirror adjustment, convex mirrors. Okay, convex mirrors are going to help you out with changing lanes and seeing into the blind areas around your vehicle. So if you don't have those fitted, they're inexpensive and you can pick those up over at Amazon or Canadian Tire or any automotive shop where you can pick up vehicle parts. Cruise control. Learn how to use cruise control. One of my pet peeves is people on highways who are 45 miles an hour, 50 miles an hour, 45, 60 miles an hour, 65 miles an hour, 55 miles an hour. They are the most annoying people, most annoying drivers, and they just drive me crazy. Learn how to use cruise control. And if you don't know how to use cruise control and don't know how to cancel it easily and hit resume, that's basically all you have to do. Please go out and practice using cruise control. Not only will it keep you at a constant speed, it will also improve your fuel economy and reduce distractions while you're driving. Use cruise control. Most newer cars now, higher end cars, have adaptive cruise control. So if you can set it for a 2-second following distance, 4-second following distance, or a 6-second following distance. So you don't even have to touch the brake or cancel your cruise control, because as soon as you come up or are gaining on another vehicle, the adaptive cruise control will automatically adjust for the differences in speed between your vehicle and the vehicle in front of you. Roadside assistance, if you don't know how to change a tire, I would strongly encourage you to sign up for the AAA. There are other organizations out there as well that do roadside assistance, okay? The CAA, the Canadian Automobile Association, the American Automobile Association, these are inexpensive. They're less than $100 a year for roadside assistance, and you can get towing and those types of things. Keep a cell phone charger in your vehicle, because it's difficult to call for help if your cell phone is not charged. So use a cell phone charger and have that in your vehicle to keep your cell phone charged as well. If you do break down, activate your four-way flashers to indicate to other traffic that your vehicle is broken down, and lift the hood on your car, which is the universal symbol that your vehicle is broken down on the side of the road. Okay, merging correctly, continuity lines, on-ramps, acceleration lanes. Know the different parts of the freeway. There's a whole list and series of videos on merging properly, but the thing is that when you get onto the on-ramp, you got to pick your spot, aim for that spot, and get the vehicle up to speed. You have to match the speed of the traffic on the highway. If there's a semi-truck, get in behind the semi-truck, unless it's, you know, where it works out that you have enough momentum, enough speed that you can pull in front of the semi-truck. But 9 times out of 10, it's going to work better if you just pull in behind the semi-truck and then merge out. Set up your speed on the roadways and get yourself going. Okay, continuity lines. I'll just go back here. Continuity lines are road markings that are twice as wide and half as short as regular lane markings, and they indicate that the lane that you are in is either going to end or it's going to exit. So if those lines are on your left, that's what's going to happen. Deceleration lanes, get completely into the deceleration lane before you start slowing down. Don't slow down out on the freeway. That's what the deceleration lane is for, and then you can get into that and you can start slowing down. Good luck in your driver's test, and remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Tyler, my friend, how are you? I avoid the highway where I'm at because it's always congestion. I got the back road much quicker. Yes, and sometimes, you know, if you live around a congested highway, freeway, those types of things, it's going to be easier for you to just take the back way home, and you're going to avoid being stuck in that congestion and whatnot. Tim says sometimes roadside assistance is part of your insurance. Okay, so check that out as well. With your insurance for your vehicle, you may have roadside assistance as part of that, which is, you know, a nice bonus for sure. Tim says all cell phones dial 911. Even if you don't have a valid account, keep an old one around if you can't afford an account. It will still work in an emergency. Also good for photos to document a crash. And that is excellent information there from Tim about having a cell phone. Yes, dial 911 if you're in an emergency or a crash, and use the cell phone to take pictures to document what happened in the crash. The other piece with that is make sure you draw a diagram, because one thing about photographs is they, you know, unless you get way back away from where the crash scene is, they're not going to give you a overall holistic view of what's going on. So just take a sketch, draw the intersection or wherever you're at, fixed objects, where one car is, where the other car is, and then that way when insurance people and authorities look at the pictures, they can look at the diagram that you've drawn, and then they can piece the pictures together with the diagrams that you've taken to provide the best evidence to reconstruct the crash that happened with you. Tyler, sometimes you can't use cruise control if traffic is heavy further to get you to the coast. Yes, that is true. If traffic is heavy and backed up and it's slow down and stop and start traffic, then obviously, yes, no doubt you can't use cruise control. Tim says multi-lane roundabouts are not a challenge if the people in the outside lane exit as they are supposed to. Yes, that is true. That is very true. Jasmine, okay. Mallory, can you use cruise control on any road, or does it depend on the road that you're on? Mallory, it does depend, of course, on the road. It depends on the traffic conditions and those types of things. But most highways, most interstates, you know, if you're traveling very near to the posted speed limit, you're going to be able to use cruise control without too much trouble, you know, within limits, of course, but it is up to the discretion. I really like adaptive cruise control because it maintains that minimum safe distance between your vehicle and vehicles in front of you. So if you have adaptive cruise control on your vehicle, even better. Aaron, can you please have your email? Thank you. Aaron, email is rick@smartdrivetest.com is my email. Goyden, hey Rick, is it acceptable to speed up and change lanes to pass a semi-truck in front of you during a road test on the highway? Goyden, no. On a driver's test, you cannot exceed the posted speed limit, so do not do that for the purposes of your driver's test. Joe, before you change lanes, watch out for speed demons. This weekend on the 400, someone appeared out of nowhere and roared past everyone. Must have been at least 50 kilometers an hour over the speed limit. Yes, so make sure that exactly what Joe said. When you are changing lanes, make sure that you're checking your mirrors and you're determining that relative speed, because if the gap between you and the vehicle that you think is a safe gap behind you is like careening up on you, then yes, exactly what Joe said. They're going way too fast for you to pull out in that other lane in front of him or her. Angelina, I didn't read either book. I watched your videos for knowledge test and road test. That's awesome. Awesome. So glad that we could help out. That's really great news. David, do you ever stop on the acceleration lane when merging? David, absolutely not. Never. Never, never, never. Don't do that. Okay, you will die. Okay, you need to pick your spot, you need to get the vehicle up to speed, and you need to merge out onto the highway. Think of it like a jet airliner taking off on a runway strip. There is no aborting, okay? You got to get that vehicle going, get it up to speed, and you have to merge out onto the highway. You do not stop on the acceleration lane. You risk being rear-ended and ending up being pushed out onto the highway in front of oncoming traffic. So never, never, never stop on an acceleration lane. Okay, if you're having difficulty with that and have some fear and trepidation about getting your vehicle going, get somebody in the vehicle, a driving instructor, a mentor, somebody that you trust who has a lot of driving experience, and get them to help you with merging out onto the highway. That's what you need to do. Angel Blue, what do you do if no one lets you merge and the acceleration lane is about to end, because the scenario scares me? Angel Blue, if that happens, if nobody's letting you merge and you're near the end of the acceleration lane, you made a mistake back on the on-ramp. You got to pick your hole before you come out onto the acceleration lane, because you have to determine, where am I going? Because you need something to aim for. All right, if you get out there and you're already halfway down the acceleration lane and now you're looking for a place to merge into, it's too late. Okay, there's too much going on. You need to pick that spot that you're going to merge into before you get out on the on-ramp. You gotta, there's my spot, that's where I'm going, that's what I'm merging into, because then that way, remember, the vehicle goes where you're looking. And if you're looking at that hole, that's the hole that I'm merging into. You've got your signal on. Somebody's going to help you out. People are going to, you know, I did a poll there a couple of weeks ago, and most people are either going to try and change lanes or they're going to slow down a little bit. And as long as they slow down a couple of miles an hour and you got your foot into it and you're going, you're going to be just fine. So you've got to be proactive in picking your spot on the highway where you're going to merge out onto. You can't get out onto the acceleration lane and then be looking for your spot that you're going to merge into. When you get on the on-ramp, that's when you're looking for your spot to merge into. All right. Angelina, yep, that's when I think I might die, actually. Excellent. Diego, I have the driving test on Friday. Diego, you're going to do awesome. Remember to breathe. Focus on what you're doing for the purpose of your driver's test. Ignore the driving examiner over there. Be pleasant, do what he or she asked you, but do what you need to do, all right? Elevator, I have seen vehicles tailgate each other on the interstate, and elevator, yes they do, and they drive in clusters, and they brake check each other, and you don't want to be anywhere near that. When you're driving on the highway or freeway or interstate, you want to be the lone wolf. You want to be driving by yourself when you're out on the highway, interstate, or freeway, okay? All right. And as well, Angel Blue, there's also the video on congestion, driving in congestion. Have a look at that. Corey will put that up for you. There's some footage that I got when I was driving in Toronto on the Gardiner Expressway, and it was backed up and people were still merging out onto the highway. Know that people will let you in. You got to have your signal on right from the beginning when you're on the on-ramp, getting out on the acceleration lane, so that you know, and if traffic is backed up and it doesn't seem that there's going to be a slot that you're going to be able to fit into to merge out onto the highway, hug that left side of the lane, not out of your lane, but the left side with your signal on, and that way eventually somebody's going to let you in, because you're kind of freaking them out because you're hugging that left side and they're not sure whether you're going to move over without looking or not. So just do that. Signal on, and people start to get a little nervous when you're sitting in a lane with your signal on 5-10 times, it flashes. Eventually they're going to help you out. Angel Sky, sometimes you can't see the cars though, depending on how the road is there and around the corner, and the cars are coming from a hill, sort of getting on number 1 on 160 and 104. Yes, sometimes there is, but again, it's a little bit of faith. It's like a hockey stop. When you learn to do a hockey stop on ice skates, you got to do it. You just got to do it. And it's a little bit like that. And again, if you can't see, or again, if you have fear and trepidation around merging, you're not sure how to do it successfully, or you just need somebody else to give you some encouragement or give you some tips, then go with somebody that you know, somebody that you trust, hire a driving examiner, and they'll be able to help you with that for the purposes of getting out onto the highway safely. After you do it 2 or 3 times, half a dozen times, and hey, I didn't die, then you're going to be a lot better at merging, and you're going to be a lot more successful and a lot safer. But again, don't stop on the acceleration lane. Get your foot into it, accelerate, get the vehicle going. This is one of my criticisms of driver training, is that too many driving instructors take students out. They just teach them how to drive. They don't teach them how to merge, because the merge or the highway freeway is too far away. So they never get an opportunity to get with the student out onto the freeway, and the student is kind of left up to his or her own devices to figure this merging part out, and doesn't get any help with it. So I suggest you go with somebody that can give you some tips and help you out with this, because as I said, after you've done it a few times, you're kind of like, oh, that's kind of easy. It's a lot easier than I thought it was. There's a lot of fear and kind of trepidation around it at the beginning, but after you've done it a few times, you go, oh, that's pretty easy. The other piece that I was going to say is a lot of driving instructors don't kind of work on the basics with students. They don't get them into a parking lot and get them to do hard acceleration. So most students, when they push down on the fuel pedal, like right to the floor, and it goes roar, and it roars, and it jumps into passing gear, the students, people who don't have any experience with that are kind of freaking out, going, oh my God, the car's going to come apart. But that's what you have to do. And think of it like a jet airliner, because most of you have been on airplanes. When they sit on the runway and it's time for them to go and they spool up those jet engines, your car should be the same thing. It should be just chomping at the bit and ready to go, is what it needs to do. David, I've had people fly by me at 80 miles an hour on the highway before. David, yes, people are going to do that. 80 miles an hour isn't that fast in most modern cars now. Most cars will do 80 miles an hour really, really easily. Mallory, communication while you're driving is key, and you are absolutely correct, my friend. Signals, eye contact, brake lights, all those things indicate what we're going to do and indicate intent on the highway. Goyden, is it a fail to turn left on a red, yellow light at an intersection during a driver's test? Goyden, have a look at the video on unexpected events that could happen during a driver's test. Corey will put that up for you. It's not a fail. Most drivers taking a driver's test do fail making a left turn on a yellow light, because what happens is they don't go. As soon as the light turns yellow, they kind of stop and they panic. And that's what causes them to fail on a yellow light. If you're taking your driver's test and you're sitting waiting to make a left-hand turn, as soon as the traffic light turns left, or turns yellow rather, you have to start driving straight into the intersection. When you're absolutely triple certain that the traffic on the other side of the intersection has come to a stop, then you can make your turn. Most drivers fail to start driving straight into the intersection as soon as the light turns yellow. That's what causes them to fail. It's not the fact that the light turned yellow and they made the left-hand turn. They freak out, they stop, and because they stop, by the time they get into the intersection, the light's gone red. And as Angelina just said, yes, red, making in the intersection on a red light, yes, you're going to fail your driver's test. But if it's yellow and you go around and you expedite that turn, it's not likely that you're going to fail. However, most new drivers on a driver's test are nervous. They don't have a great deal of experience with making left-hand turns on yellow lights, and all of those conditions come together and unfortunately don't allow new drivers to get past that technique on a driver's test. Elevator says, I always use my cruise control when driving on the highway. Awesome. Like I said, it's going to reduce distractions when you're driving, because you just set the speed that you want to drive, and it's one less thing that you have to pay attention to when you're driving up and down the highway. David, about merging, although people can't be stopping on the acceleration lane, I've seen on-ramps with very short to no acceleration lane. The ramp just goes straight into the highway. And yes, David, I understand what you're talking about. Parkways in New York State are like that. And that is something different than an on-ramp and an acceleration lane. In those places, yes, you have to come to a stop and wait for a break in traffic before you can get out onto the Parkway. Absolutely. I know what you're talking about, because I drove on the Parkways in New York State when I was there last year, and absolutely, you have to come to a stop. Team 2, what's up, Rick? I passed my permit test last month. Now I'm nervous to take my driving test. Team, make a date. Do it. Don't let, being nervous about it, because we're all nervous when we're taking a test, for sure. Somebody else is marking us, we're definitely going to be nervous, but you can definitely pass your driver's test, get your license, and get going down the road. My friend Epic, how are you? On highways, when merging, get to highway speed as quickly as possible and yield when you have an on-ramp that has no acceleration lane. 4-lane highways, watch out for large buses and trucks on the left. Yes, for passing. And absolutely, and as I said, when there's big trucks or there's buses, semi-trucks and those types of things, plan to merge in behind them. That's going to keep you safer than trying to race them and get in front of them, because you realize these buses and these big trucks, they're already up to speed on the highway. They're already traveling along at 60, 65 miles an hour. So it's easier to just let off the throttle a little bit and then just get in behind them, and then, reclaim your space, get that 4 to 6 second following distance in front of your vehicle, and then change lanes and then pass them and get around them and those types of things. Go ahead and just so to be ready to clear the intersection when it's safe, and what if cars are still going straight through the red light? The examiner won't be reasonable in that situation. Goyden, the chances of that happening on your driver's test are really, really minimal, okay? Less than 0.1%. There's a possibility, but again, you have to be safe, okay? If you're moving into the intersection and those cars aren't stopping and they're still coming through on the intersection, they're going to stop eventually. But if they're still coming through, you can't go until that through traffic comes to a stop. So know that, okay? It's about safety. You can't go until the traffic on the other side is stopped, and you have to be double, triple sure that the traffic coming through on the other side of the intersection is in fact coming to a stop. Yes, Mallory says don't forget shoulder checking while driving, and shoulder checking is probably one of the most important skills to successfully pass your driver's test. If you don't shoulder check, you are not going to pass your driver's test. Left and right. And I've had questions about Why do we shoulder check when turning left? Why do we shoulder check when merging left? The reason is you want to develop skills and habits to keep yourself safe when you get tired, when you make mistakes, when you're distracted. Those habits signal every time you change direction of the vehicle. Shoulder check every time you change direction of the vehicle. These are going to keep you safe when you make mistakes. And yes, there are some times that there's a concrete barrier there in the middle of the road. Why am I shoulder checking left? You're shoulder checking left so that you have that habit of observation in place, and it's going to keep you safe. Maybe not tomorrow, next month, maybe not next year, but in 5 years, you're going to shoulder check and it's like, oh my God, what is that person in a wheelchair doing next to my car in the left lane? That's when it's going to keep you safe. That's when it's going to pull your proverbial bacon out of the fire. Okay? Joe, where did my friend Joe go? I saw it here. My son loved practicing, had acceleration and deceleration in an icy, snowy parking lot for last winter. It was an empty lot, by the way. It was a great skill builder and confidence booster for him. And again, what Joe is saying is that him and his son worked on slow speed maneuvers, worked on the basics of driving. And this is the part that is unfortunately overlooked and not done with many new drivers, simply because of the amount of time, because of the cost. And a lot of driving instructors don't do it with students. They don't take them to a parking lot. They don't work with pylons. They don't get them to do hard braking and hard acceleration, which is a misgiving as far as as in my professional opinion, and I see it as a shortcoming of our training, because it's not until drivers get into an emergency situation that they actually figure out how the car really handles when the ABS kicks in, for example. So if you can do that and get into a parking lot and work on the fundamentals, work on those slow speed maneuvers, you're going to be a better driver overall. And slow speed maneuvers are to driving what drills are to sports, and they're what scales are to music. You need to practice the fundamentals to be a better driver. It's the same thing. All drivers, all students hate parallel parking. Oh my God, the lamenting about parallel parking. But if you can nail parallel parking, if you can do it well, you are going to be a better driver overall. I guarantee it. I absolutely guarantee it. Tim says right away is something that you give, not something that you take, and that is absolutely correct. And that goes back to left turns on a red light. If that traffic is still coming through, you don't have the right of way to go. They have not given you the right of way, so you have to wait until they come to a stop before you can proceed through that intersection. Rocky, by the way, why exactly are you saying not just an engine fan coming on to scare me like other pedestrians, but an air brake anyway, Mr. August? Because it's not an engine fan, Rocky. It's an air brake system. It's the air dryer, and when the air brake system reaches maximum pressure, the air dryer purges. Every time, you know when the system is at full capacity, because the air dryer goes psh, and if you're walking past that truck or you're walking past that bus that is fitted with air brakes, it's going to scare you. It's even me. I know that these vehicles are sitting there idling away and they're fitted with air brakes, and I walk by it and the air dryer purges and does that psh. It scares the tar out of me. So know that. Elevator, I have had drivers ahead of me not signal when turning and always feel frustrated and a little bit pressured. And elevator, that's part of social driving. People do not signal. They're increasing the resale value of their vehicle by not using the signals, because when they sell their vehicle, they can say, hey, the signals have never been used on this vehicle. Of course, I'm being facetious about that, but for whatever reason, people don't feel that they're signaling. And if they do signal, it's not that they tell you or that they're requesting that they can move over or that they can turn. They're signaling to tell you that, hey, I'm coming over right now. It's kind of a courtesy. It's like, oh, look, I put my signal on, even though I'm already in the other lane when I'm merging. That's what signaling is about. Angelina Sky, guess what though? You can literally correct your parallel park to the test person. You aren't done till the e-brake and verbal are done, and that is absolutely correct. On slow speed maneuvers, which include backing into a parking space, your 3-point turn, and parallel parking, you're allowed one pull-up, okay? Examiners are not going to start assigning demerit points until, more than 2 pull-ups, and it's minor. It's a couple of points anyway. So as Angelina said, until you have the e-brake on and you say, listen, I've completed my parallel park, then you're done at that juncture. And again, I also had a comment last week that somebody was freaking out because they said they only had 2 minutes to parallel park. It takes less than 30 seconds to parallel park a vehicle. It really should take you less than 30 seconds. So 2 minutes is 4 times the amount of time that you need to parallel park a car. Don't get distracted by the little things, all right? This is what is happening with too many people. They get distracted. Oh my God, I've only got 2 minutes, and they start freaking out and they're like, oh my God, I'm never going to be able to do this. I'm not going to pass my driver's test. Focus on what you need to do to pass your driver's test, okay? 2 minutes is more time than you will ever need to parallel park. 30 seconds, okay? That's all the amount of time that you need to parallel park. If you're taking 2 minutes or 3 minutes, you need to go back to the parking lot and you need to really work on this, because your skills are at a very rudimentary level. You shouldn't be parallel parking out on the roadway if it's taking you 2 minutes. That is way too much time. Know that. Don't get distracted by things that aren't relevant to what you're doing when you're learning how to drive and preparing for your driver's test. Rocky, 100% fair enough. Anyway, off to bed now. Thank you so much. Catch you next week. All the best. Rocky, have a great night, my friend. Lily, I need to take my G test soon. I need to work on merging, and I'm terrified of people coming into my lane with speed. I've seen it almost happen too many times. Work on merging. Okay, so you need to work on merging on a highway. Is that what you're talking about, Lily? Or are you talking about just changing lanes on a multi-lane road in the city? Which part of that are you working on, my friend? Angelina Sky broke the ice by asking the test guy if they automatically fail someone if they hit the cone in the test spot at ICBC. That'll work too. Yeah, you can always have a conversation. Usually it's best when you're going for your driver's test that you allow the examiner to engage in conversation. Usually it's best, they're going to do their little pre-trip inspection. They're going to get you to, they're going to check the license plate, that there's no damage to the vehicle, that the lights work, the signals, left, right, the brakes work. They're going to get you to tap the horn and whatnot. But again, if you're going down for your driver's test, be sure that you do a pre-trip inspection on your vehicle prior to going down the day before. And if you're going with a driving school, ask the instructor whether he or she did a pre-trip inspection on your vehicle before going down to the driver's test. Because if you're using your own vehicle, for example, if you've got a brake light out, it's really easy to change your brake light. It's the bulb only takes 10 minutes to do that at a shop, or you can do it yourself if you can wield a screwdriver, and you're not going to be denied your driver's test. But if they do that mini pre-trip inspection on your vehicle and you have a brake light out, you're going to be denied your driver's test because your vehicle is not safe and the examiner will not take you out. And I've seen that happen, and I've had people here on the tests, on the Smart Drive Test channel, say that to me, that they've been denied their driver's test because they had a brake light out and those types of things. So make sure you do a pre-trip inspection on your vehicle before going down the night before. Lily, I overfocus on reaching the speed and don't compensate for it when it's not clear to enter. Okay, Lily, I would strongly suggest that you work with a mentor, you work with somebody that you trust to improve your lane changes, or work with a driving instructor. With most of the students that I work with, there's at least one lesson where that's all we're working on, is merging and changing lanes, because it is a skill that needs to be worked on by itself. And for any driving instructors that are watching now on the live stream, or you're watching on the replay, know that if you're new to the industry and you're starting working with students, this is one of the things that you need to do. You need to spend one lesson with the student working on lane changes, working on merging, because this is not something that students are good at. And because, especially if you're merging to the right, you're merging into the blind area on the left side of the vehicle. If you're merging left, it's not quite as bad. but still students want to slow down when they move from one lane to the other. And you actually, in fact, have to speed up when you're moving from one lane to the other because you're moving across on an angle and you have to increase your speed slightly to maintain that constant speed, that posted speed limit when you're driving. So know that. And again, lane changes, mirror signal, shoulder check, minimum 3 flashes on the signal. You're looking forward and then checking again, and then you're going to move over and you're going to leave your signal on until you're completely in the other lane before canceling your signal. The other thing about lane changing is that to have enough space between your vehicle and a space to move into, the vehicle needs to be in the top outside third of the mirror. That way you know that you've got enough space to merge into and in that lane. But again, if you've got your signal on for 3 or 4 flashes and somebody's close or near your blind area there on the left side, if you're merging to that side of the vehicle, most of the time they're going to help you out. They're just going to hold their space, or they're going to back off a little bit to create a space for you to merge into. David says some highways can be more dangerous to drive on than others because some high-speed expressways do have some at-grade intersections. I've seen some that have intersections with 65-mile-an-hour speed limit, and that is true, my friend. Absolutely, you know, geography is going to have an impact on visibility at intersections, and there are high-speed intersections. You know, we have a highway here that's 55 miles an hour is the posted speed limit, but the traffic flow is always 75 miles an hour on that highway, and there are intersections along that highway. So that's exactly, yes, I agree with that. Joe, there used to be a combo entry-exit ramp in Kitchener, Highway 85 in Kitchener, only one in the province, I think. Luckily, it was redesigned, but I was super tense for a while, required mucho caution. Yeah, Joe, those... we have one here in Kamloops that's an old relic of that, and those are, you know, just a poor engineering design, and of course they're being eliminated as the one in Kitchener was eliminated. They took it out and they redesigned it and put an acceleration lane and a deceleration lane. So yes, you got to be on your toes when you've got one of those that's an acceleration lane and a deceleration lane, because there's cars coming out that are accelerating and you're trying to decelerate and get off. I mean, they work pretty well when there was less traffic density, but now that we have high traffic densities on these highways and freeways, they're not safe and they're a poor engineering road design. So they've absolutely eliminated those. Elevator, Indiana law states that you need to keep at least 2 to 3 seconds behind the vehicle in front of you. And elevator, that is consistent with almost every handbook in North America, in the United States and here in Canada. It's the 2 to 3 second following distance. But the thing is that nobody measures following distance. Nobody does that. You know, the vehicle in front goes past the fixed object, 1 watermelon, 2 watermelon, 3 watermelon, and you go past that fixed object. Nobody does that. If you're using your brake a lot to control space in front of your vehicle, you're too close to the vehicle in front of you. The only time that you should be using the brake is to slow down or stop, unexpected events, or controlling your speed on a downgrade. Those are the only 3 times that you should be using the brake in your vehicle. If you're using the brake for more than that, then you're using it too much, and you need to increase your following distance behind the vehicles, behind the traffic that you're in, to keep yourself and other people safe, because space gives you time, time gives you options, and options reduce crashes. So know that the more space you have, the less likely it's that you're going to hit something, because if you're not near anything, it's less likely you're going to hit something. Know that. Angelina Sky, yeah, highway is fun to merge on without cars, for sure, absolutely, because then you can just go, you just give her. Mallory says driver's commentary. Yes, driver's commentary is an excellent tool when you're learning how to drive, and it's not just for learning how to drive, it's for any skill that you're going to be learning. If you're learning another language, you're learning math, if you're talking through what you're doing at the same time that you're doing it, a running commentary is going to help out in huge amounts of retaining the information that you need to retain when you're driving. The other piece about running commentaries, especially when you're learning how to drive or you're with a driving instructor or even on your driving test, is he or she doesn't have to guess what you're thinking. They don't have to guess what you're looking at. They can know what you're thinking and what you're looking at because you're verbally speaking. I'm looking at the pedestrian on the other side of the road who's standing near the crosswalk. They might step out into the roadway. I'm watching the cyclist here because he or she may be wobbly on their bicycle going through the intersection and could deviate into my lane. I'm looking down the roadway. There's no vehicles in front of me. There's a crosswalk down there. I don't see any pedestrians at the crosswalk. I'm preparing to turn right at the next intersection. That's your running commentary, and that is really going to help you out in learning how to drive and preparing for your driver's test. Elevator, I always count seconds when the vehicle ahead of me passes a fixed object. Elevator, you are one of the few drivers that actually does that, my friend. Many other people do not, in fact. Okay. Corey's put up the video on the commentary and helping you out with that and giving you some practice to be able to do that and use that as a learning tool to improve your overall driving. Lily, in which case I need to slow down, but the instructor always have me to press the brake for me. Okay, Lily, it sounds like you need to get into a parking lot and you need to work on some slow speed movers just to get some of those basic skills down with working with the steering wheel and working with the accelerator and working with the brake. Because unfortunately, if the instructor is pressing the brake all the time on you, I see that as a failing of the driving instructor. The driving instructor should not be pressing the brake all the time. If I'm working with a student and I have to get on the instructor's brake, I would immediately see that as me needing to take you to a closed circuit area somewhere where you can work and drive around a parking lot and get used to the primary controls of the vehicle and figuring out where the vehicle is in relation to other things on the roadway. And in the parking lot, that would be pylons. I would put pylons up for you because I want you to learn where those pylons are in relation to your vehicle. Because if you hit a pylon in a parking lot, it's not really a big deal. But you hit another vehicle or you hit a pedestrian on the roadway, then that's going to be a big deal. So that's what I'm going to specifically help you with. David, I drove on the Pennsylvania Turnpike Northeast Extension and driving in the left lane was scary for me there because there was little to no left shoulder, literally was mere inches away from the Jersey barrier. And David, yes, I know exactly what you're talking about because those parkways are not big roads. There's not a lot left over. It's not like when you get out on the interstates and those types of things. So if you were able to do that on the Pennsylvania Turnpike, then you did exceptionally well, my friend. Exceptionally well, and being able to drive on such a narrow road. So you did really well driving there on the pike. Tim, practice your commentary. It's not easy to do well. And Tim, I couldn't agree more with that. The running commentary is something that you need to practice, and it's also going to bolster your ability to recognize hazards along the roadway. You're going to get a much deeper knowledge and in-depth understanding of how traffic moves and what could potentially be a hazard for you when you're approaching intersections, when you're driving along the roadways and those types of things. For example, most students are not going to see a cyclist in a bike lane as a potential hazard. But if you're saying that there's a cyclist, potentially they could deviate into my lane, I'm watching them, I'm covering the brake, I'm making sure that I have 3 feet of space between my vehicle and them, minimum safe distance. Then, all of that is going to start registering in your head. You're going to be saying, I'm at the two-way stop sign intersection. I'm stopping at the correct stopping position behind the stop line, letting the stop line just roll under the front of the car. It's going to get into your mind the details that you need to be able to drive well and to observe and keep yourself safe when you're driving. Ty, how do you get comfortable with a highway full of semi and large trucks and I got scared? You need to tie, yeah, I can understand if you get a lot of buses and large vehicles and semi-trucks and those types of things when you're driving on the highway, yes, you're going to have some fear and trepidation around that for sure. Definitely, keep your distance, maintain distance. You need to probably have kind of a 4 to 5 second following distance behind the semi-trucks and buses because they're big. So you need to be able to stay back farther so that you can see around them and see down the highway and whatnot, because they're going to block and obstruct your vision when you're looking down the highway. So that's what you need to do with semi-trucks and those types of things. Mallory, what is a parkway? So Mallory, in the United States, they have parkways and interstates. Parkways are just for cars. There's no commercial traffic allowed on parkways. They tend to be narrower, a lot narrower, and as well, they tend not to, they have some acceleration lanes, but any kind of acceleration lane, it's more like an intersection than an acceleration lane. And oftentimes when you come out to get on the parkway, you actually have to stop, wait for a gap in traffic, and then proceed. But because there isn't any commercial traffic, they tend to be less traveled and they're a lot more scenic. Think of rural New England. It's a little bit like that, and they're very pretty and they're nice to drive along. But oftentimes, when you get into these villages and small towns along the way that you can get into and go and have lunch and those types of things, it's very quaint. Nice way to go through kind of the northeast of the United States of America for sure. Joe, when will we see adaptive cruise control with bilateral control on every new vehicle? It's so much safer for oldsters as well as newbies. Hopefully we won't have to wait 10 to 20 years. Joe, I think probably what's going to happen is we're going to have electric vehicles before we see bilateral control and cruise control on every vehicle. It's probably just not something that's going to come out very quickly because unfortunately a lot of people don't use cruise control. I would say more than 50% of people don't even use cruise control. So it's not seen as a big ticket item. It's not something that's going to sell cars. And even if it's on the vehicle, people don't use it. So unlike you and me, Joe, who love cruise control and are looking forward to having adaptive cruise control, most people don't use it and it's not a selling feature. Sky, oops, unnecessary shoulder check, but better one too many than not enough, I guess, during my road test. Yes, absolutely. David, beware of construction zones on the highways. They have narrow lanes with little to no shoulder. Workers working there are feet away from you. Yes, and speeding through those is a no-no. Speeding through construction zones, if you are pulled over by police and you receive a ticket, it's going to be double. The fine will be double. So if it's a normal speeding ticket where you get $135, know that it's going to be closer to $250. When speeding in construction zones, when workers are present. That's usually the condition to that. Angelina Sky, she said she narrated the whole time that she was taking her driver's test, making the instructor laugh, which is a good thing. You definitely want them to be comfortable. And that's the other thing about a running commentary is it's going to make the driving examiner more comfortable when they're administering the test. Because as I said, they're not guessing what you're thinking. They're not guessing what you're looking at. They're not guessing if you saw that hazard, that potential hazard down the road and those types of things. Aaron, if we see children sign without a speed limit, how fast do we go? So you're talking about a playground sign. If there aren't any children present, then it's the normal speed limit. But if you have to look underneath the sign to see whether there is a reduced speed limit, because if you get a playground sign that has a white rectangular speed limit underneath it, then that is a speed limit that is enforced sun up to sundown the whole day, and you must do that speed limit. If you speed in a playground speed zone or in a school speed zone, both of those are automatic fails on a driver's test. Know that for the purposes of your driver's test. So again, go to the area around the test center where you're going to be taking your test and practice driving in and around those areas so you know where these playground speed zones are, where you know the school speed zones are, so that you can be prepared for those when you go into those areas on your driver's test, because you need to figure out where these are. At least go on Google, 10 minutes around the test center where you're going to be taking your test and figure out what is in those areas for the purposes of passing first time. Tim says ADAS is the only good as you understand, use, and maintain it. Yes, it's just a tool. It's exactly like a computer. It's only as good as the person behind it operating it, so know that. Susan, how can I get over the fear of driving on the highway? Every time I get on the highway, I feel so tense. I just can't wait to get to my exit. Susan, again, maintain that space in front of your vehicle. If you're really tense and have a lot of anxiety about it, I might suggest hiring a driving instructor to go out with you for a couple of lessons to just work on your highway driving. If that's not an option, then find somebody who's comfortable on the roadways and highways and work with them on the highways to keep yourself safe out on the roadway, and you know, work with those people. Get somebody to help you, get somebody to mentor you, and that's going to help you to overcome and alleviate that anxiety and fear of driving out on the highway. Joe, super helpful live stream this evening. Rick, thanks yet again. Have a fabulous week, everyone, and fingers crossed for everyone taking their tests next week. You will do great, and that is awesome. And as well, the defensive driving course is on sale over at the Smart Drive Test website for $25. You can pick that up. Check that out over at the Smart Drive Test website. Corey will put that link up for you if you're interested in that. If you're watching here or you're watching on the replay, check out the defensive driving course. The winter driving course is all over there as well, but it's not on sale. It was on sale last week. We'll try the defensive driving course and see if people are interested in that for $25. Christina, I do some hypnosis for driving anxiety. Yes, and everybody has different ways that they relax when they are faced with things that give them a lot of anxiety, right? Hypnosis, although I'm not sure whether it's really good to be hypnotized while you're driving, you know, but, you know, herbal teas, meditation, breathing, those types of things. And that breathing is one of the most important things that I would suggest as a technique to reduce your anxiety when you're driving, right? Hold for 3, out through the mouth, in through the nose, out through the mouth, hold for 3. Okay, and that's going to help you to reduce your anxiety when you're driving. Failed your driving test, Kicking Rock. Sorry to hear about that. No, you can take it again. Practice on the feedback. You know, work on the feedback that you got for the purposes of your driver's test, and then you can go and you can get your license. You're going to get it. Know that you're going to pass. Okay. Good luck on that. So we'll leave it there for tonight. Thank you so much for everybody here asking questions and participating in the live stream. Really, really awesome live stream. Check out the Defensive Driving Smarter course over at the Smart Drive Test website. It's on sale for $25. Passed your driver's test in the last week or so. Congratulations on that. That is absolutely awesome. You have a driver's test coming up in the next couple of weeks. Good luck on that. And remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Have a great night. Bye now. All right. What am I eating? I am eating chili that I made because I thought that I wasn't on the live stream. And I'm on the live stream. The live stream is actually running. So I'm not sure how that happened, that one of the buttons got pushed. Here we are. Hello, everyone. Things that happen on the live stream. There we go. All right, so I have to make sure that, I upgraded the software today, and apparently when I start streaming, it just turns on, and here we are, and I'm just walking around. I'm glad that I didn't say anything inappropriate. My kids weren't here, or those types of things. So anyway, yes, chili. I was trying to get something eaten before I started the live stream. So anyway, there we go. KB's here. Ledden's here. Hello. Just passed your road test this morning. That is awesome news. Congratulations. Jasmine said she made chili last week. Warming up leftover stew. So let me know what you're having for supper, because you know what I'm having for supper. One sec.